Hello, this is Yayoi Komiyama from Brain to Belly, and welcome to the Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV, channel 250 and 251. Please remember to download both the Zingo TV app on your respective app stores in iOS and Android devices. And while you download, make sure to rate and leave a comment. The app is free. Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also on all smart TVs 2016 and forward. Okay, so hello everyone, and today my guest is Nidhi Setia, and she is from the Netherlands. She is a fellow neuroencoding specialist, but she is also a transformation coach, and she has quite an interesting history on something that I'm interested in, on chanting. So I wanted to bring her in and have her share her story today. So hi, Nidhi.
Hello, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
I'm very excited that you're here. So, Nidhi, could you tell us a little bit about your experiences with neuroencoding and also your journey to get to this place, to where you are now?
Yes, so I live in the Netherlands for almost 8 years, and that's also almost the time that I've been chanting. So I practice Nichiren Buddhism, and this practice is introduced by Soka Gakkai. It's an international organization originating from Japan, and now
Mm-hmm.
it's almost in 192 countries. So we have wide community, and the focus is mainly on human revolution. That's the term. So it's about self transformation, and
Yes,
they believe that if you transform yourself, it can actually lead to at some point transformation in the whole world. It's about world peace and
yes,
happiness, and that's what we are chanting for. And everybody wants to be happy,
yes,
right?
yes,
So and the practice is, once you start to chant, once you start to feel the changes in yourself, and the best thing is when you start to chant for your friends and family, and you see situations around you changing. So it's like life and self, environment. We are interconnected,
yes, yes,
and that's the belief that transformation in self can eventually lead to a transformation in nature, in the nation, and in fact in the whole world at some point.
yes, yes. So you said you started chanting about 8 years ago.
Yeah.
So what inspired you to start chanting, and what made you go into that field or get interested in it?
Well, I was struggling at that time. I had lost my father, and it was a very hard time for the
Sorry.
family. And I didn't know. I tried different meditations. I tried going to therapy and stuff, but I still felt something was missing. I really needed something to bridge that gap. And it's always a void that can never be filled. But I
Yeah.
wanted to figure it out for myself in some holistic way, and not to go on antidepressants or stuff like that. So, and then somebody introduced me to the practice, saying if you chant, you should chant for your father. And then I was really curious, like, okay, I want to do something for my dad, and I couldn't save him. So I started to chant at that time, and in the beginning, I didn't really feel anything magical. I was like, "Why everybody's so happy here in the community meetings, and I'm not feeling anything." And then they also provide you enough support. You have young women leaders around where they're a bit advanced in practice from you, and then help you study with you together and make you understand the philosophy and how it works. So slowly and steadily, I started to see that I was getting the right kind of help around. So be it contacting the right doctor or finding the right meeting to go to, and then people are sharing their experiences about life. So you start to feel inspired because you hear that people have been changing themselves
Yeah.
using the practice, right?
Yes.
So I'm a believer. I'm curious by nature. So I thought, well, I'm going to try. And this is something always resonated with me. So I stick to it. And I've had so many experiences that I can't deny that it works. it does work.
Wow. Would you mind sharing one experience so that our viewers can understand what you're talking about? Because I'm sure they're
For
curious to find out.
Well, I can think of when, so in the beginning, I wasn't very consistent with my practice. So, you know how it
Yeah.
is. You're young, you want to chant, but you also want to party and do all
Yeah.
kinds of
Yeah.
things, right? So it was never a priority, right? So,
Uh-huh.
okay, when you feel something, you go and sit in the front of Gohon Zone. It's like an object that we
Yes.
chant towards. But I remember particularly when I moved to the Netherlands, I was in a very toxic workplace environment, and there came a situation. I was trying to do something very good, but somehow one of the clients, they got the idea that it wasn't the right thing to do, although my intentions were all great. And they almost went to a point like I thought I will just be fired from this job. So it was a Friday, and I was like, oh my god, I have to wait 2 days before I see them on Monday and then see the verdict. And I had nothing. I was like so scared. I'm like, okay, this is it, they're gonna just let me go. um so over the weekend I was so stressed, and my mom said, well, why don't you chant, so I that was the first weekend I really chanted so sincerely. And I don't know, somehow it opens up your wisdom and what happened. So I went to the office on Monday, and I was so confident, and I just told this person, look, my intention was this, and I was trying to do it like this way. And he was like, okay, okay. And he kept listening, and then he was like, I trust you intrinsically, and maybe I overreacted over that day, and it I understand the intention behind. And then he thought maybe there were some other people who were trying to make it a political situation, but it wasn't really worth it. And he just said, well, okay, but everybody's replaceable, and but I'll let this go, it's okay. I was like, great. But the way he said it, it felt like a favor to me. I was so happy, okay, I get to keep it, and I
Yeah.
express myself well. But somewhere inside I was like, I am not replaceable.
Yeah.
My job might be, my position might be, as a person I'm not. And it somehow took I took it to my heart, and I was like, I don't know how, where, when, but I'm gonna prove that I'm not replaceable. Nobody's replaceable. You are here for a reason.
Yes.
Nobody else would be in your place otherwise. So, and from that day to 8 months later, when I continued to chant, and I really wanted to see what's in it for me, where is my value in this,
Mm-hmm.
but how am I adding value to this client, and if this is the right job for me, or shall I
Yes.
be moving to something else? But I really opened myself up, and for 6 months, due to language barriers or whatever, a lot of rejections. But in one of the meetings, I went from the Buddhist group, and there was a 1 month challenge that you pick up one goal that you want to achieve in your life
Mm-hmm.
in 30 days.
Okay.
And if this meeting was on of 30th of April in 2018,
Okay.
and they said 1 month challenge, you will chant every day 1 hour to attain this goal,
Oh.
and you will create the biggest benefit of your life in this 1 month.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea, but at that moment I decided, okay, I want to change my work situation because I'm not happy. And so, Mystic, 30th of May, I signed a contract for a new job on my terms and conditions. So, and when I announced that I'm going to go away, this person who had told that everybody's replaceable, he acted out like a child, and he couldn't hold his emotions. He was so dependent on me and the value I was adding. He's like, but who else will do it? And all the people from the client, they were like, we have questions. So if you go away, who will replace you? Are they going to be as good as you? And all those kind of situations. And I had the biggest farewell party ever. There were like more than 80 people that showed up, and they were so stunned, like we've never had in the history of that organization, that so many people show up for somebody to bid farewell.
Oh.
So,
Wow.
amazing experience.
Wow. Wow. So that also comes to the Gosh, I'm just thinking, like, we're also neuroencoding specialists, so where our mentor is Joseph McClendon. And Joseph always says that repetition is the mother of all skills. So when you did the 30-day challenge of chanting an hour a day, every day, that's repetition.
Yeah,
So it also changes. And in neuroencoding, we also say that it changes your brain waves or the energy that you're projecting as well. So I think I love how that's all connected.
yeah,
And yes, and then the whole world is really energy, right? And we're energy as well. So I love how that changed that. And you were able to change the energy that was all around you too in the workplace.
yeah.
So that's such a beautiful story.
Thank you.
Wow. Wow. Yes. So I know you're also, you started neuroencoding, and I see your neuroencoding symbol up there, which I should probably put up too, but I didn't. Anyway, um, so what got you interested in neuroencoding, and yeah, what inspired you to start on that path as well?
So I try to go to at least one educational program every year, so self-development. So I've been to Tony Robbins, of
Yes.
course, and then I went to Joseph's A Factor in the Netherlands.
Yep.
And there was something in that moment, and when the way they shared about the community, and
Yes.
in the beginning you think it's an investment, what am I going to get out of it? But I think the power of community always beats it. It doesn't matter what the cost is, and that's what I loved about it, that it was a lifetime membership, and
Yes.
then I get to meet so many amazing people like yourself and so many others on every other day, or something like on a weekly basis.
Yes.
So it's like, if I need something, support from in any way, I can just pick up my phone and I can call people, and it's amazing. And then you get to learn so much from each other.
Yes.
So it's amazing the way it is. And the other thing that really triggered me was like Joseph makes it everything so simple.
Simple. Yes.
You don't have to do complex things, and we don't have so much time in today's world. And if you can do only 2 minutes of something with your brain, and make it function in a way that will get you the best outcome
Yes.
throughout the day, that's amazing.
Yes, yes. That's one thing that I love, and that's one of the basic principles of neuroencoding is assassinate complexity.
Yeah.
And I believe in that completely because I know that human beings are they don't want to do anything that's complicated. I mean, people will do it. Don't get me wrong, they'll do it, but then it's begrudgingly that they'll do it. And if you want people to react to something and really pursue it, it has to be easy and simple. And that's why I love neuroencoding because the whole concept is everything that we do is really we'll refine it so that it's simplified to the point that it's just easier to do. And it may be easier to do, but it's not exactly easy for people to continue doing it. And that's where the discipline factor comes in and the repetition. And I firmly believe, like the 30-day challenge that you did, that challenges are a good way to get people to repeat what they're doing. So
Yes.
even if it's like a 3-week challenge or even a 10-day challenge or even 3 days, it just makes a big difference because you're repeating something that's easy to do. And if you keep on repeating it, it becomes a habit. And like you're chanting, you were saying that you didn't do it that frequently, but then, with the challenge, you decided, okay, I could do this. And I think a lot of us, we need that little bit of a nudge to say, like a challenge or someone saying, okay, I'm going to let's do a competition or let's try to do something where the group of us are going to do something together. Because when you're, like you said about community is such an important thing for human beings as well. And that's another reason that I was very attracted to neuroencoding as well, because of the community. And I believe that community starts at the top. And I think Joseph's energy and with Joseph and the sisters, they are all creating that energy that is it's a trickle down effect, that they're giving energy. And I think Joseph is kind of like that. I know it sounds like Joseph, but I think what's important is that there's always somebody that's kind of like the stone that you throw into the pond that creates that ripple. And then we're like the ripples, and our ripples ripple out to everyone else. So I love that community factor. And it's like we're all in that pond together, right?
Yeah,
The whole world is kind of like in that pond or whatever, that thing of water, that body of water. And one ripple can just affect everyone. And I think even with the chanting, that's like another, well, that's energy rippling, actually.
yeah, it's all about interconnectedness,
Yes,
and that's how we say, there's a principle of life and environment, so self and environment. So once you transform, you see it differently. You get to
yes,
open up to different perspectives.
yes, yes. And that's such a beautiful thing because, even when you said that you were in a depressive state for a while after your father passed on, and very understandably. And I think when we're in that depressive state, we can only see something from that one perspective. And it's hard to kind of like change that perspective and see it from a different view. And things like chanting, neuroencoding, even if it's just prayer or meditation, they are all different modalities in which we can change our focus and change that perspective that we view things from. So I think it's almost like a painting or a sculpture. When you look at art, you see one thing, and if you look on it straight ahead, you see it from one perspective. But then some, paintings, if you look at it from this angle or this angle or this angle, it looks very different.
Yeah,
And I think what we forget to do when we're in that depressive state or when we're in one state, it's hard to kind of like see it from that other perspective. And I
true.
think it's so important to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's also very scientific. So all these techniques that we do, they're also very scientific. So if because some people, I understand, they find it hard to believe from a, okay, because if you say Buddhism, maybe it's a religious thing to do. But I think any kind of philosophy is important to have your basis in, and even if you meditate or you chant or you're doing something with neuroencoding, you're actually emitting different kinds of waves in your brain. So
Yes.
alpha waves, for instance, and we're not in that state in a conscious manner. So right now we are talking, we are in a beta state, and that's why there's a lot going on in our heads, and we are still focusing here. But once you start to chant, you're also, even though your thoughts are flowing or you're meditating, your thoughts are flowing, but you're also having an equal emit of an alpha wave, which
Yes.
kind of balances out. So that's where you feel the relief or the
Yes.
the capacity for your brain to recover from the
Yes.
stress.
Very much so. Yes. Thank you for sharing that. It's so true that, when we say meditation or prayer or even chanting, people are like, no, that's the rainbow and the unicorns and butterflies or whatever, right? And it's like, no, no, no. It's actually science based
Yeah,
because everything is energy. Everything.
true,
And, we're made of electrons and electricity. And it's the way that electricity and the energy converts and changes. And I think it's like, you learn this in science when you're a kid, right? But you don't see it. So it's not, you don't see it like as molecules. You don't see molecules, and you don't see it like the energy bumping each other and rippling and all that. But when you look at it from that perspective, it's like, whoa, the whole world is kind of like that. And we're just bunches of molecules put into different ways, you know? I don't know. I sound like a crazy person, but like a crazy scientist. But it's true. It's, you know, we're all made of this energy that's just flowing. And it's the way that the combination of this energy affects other people and it moves in different ways. And our brains are basically electricity that's moving in and out. So, yes. So, wow. So you've really made a lot of changes with the chanting. And what are some other? I know that you do this as a living as well. And I think did you? I think you do. You have something coming up soon. I think, or was that?
So I'm
Yes.
working on launching a mastermind group, a community in Facebook, and especially oriented around women who wants to be leaders, or they are in the leadership role and they can learn from each other. I'm very excited. We're working on it, and hopefully I will be able to launch soon with the New Year's resolution. So yeah, bring in some fresh energy and some new perspectives, and we'll be able to give away a lot of resources to work upon, and that's the whole idea behind this mastermind.
So, what kind of can you explain a little bit about this mastermind in that is it like a weekly class? Is it a class? Is it weekly? Do you meet monthly? What type of things will you be doing in it? I'm just
So
curious. That's
yeah, it'll be a mix of things. So we give a platform so they can share their own thoughts and experiences, but also plan to do some programs like over the course of weeks, and also some daily accountability. You know, like you shared with the community and challenges. It's always great to keep people on track, and ourselves, of course, if you're involved in it. So
mm-hmm.
that's pretty much the idea. So
Ah, okay. And you said women, and you're focusing on women and leaders in,
yes, yes.
yes. Yes. Okay. I know you're a woman and you're a leader in your community. And well, tell me a little bit more about your interest in that because I'm curious. As a woman, I gravitate towards women that are leaders, and I think it's in the young people in this, I guess because I'm older, but I think that women need strong role models, and I think it's important. So, what inspired you to become a leader, a woman, a female leader, and who inspired you to go into this role?
Well, while growing up, I had no idea. I was really like the one, I don't want the limelight, I don't want to be in the front, I'll just do my thing. So, a bit of a more artistic kind, just, a lot of hobbies and doing stuff. But as I start to grow up, and then I remember I was watching television and just flipping through the channels on a Sunday, and I saw an interview she's the first Indian Miss Universe. She's a famous actress,
Yes.
Sushmita Sen. So for the viewers, if they know her, and I saw her a clip of hers, and the host asked her this question because she was the first Indian lady, single parent, to go for adopting kids. And there, before that, there were no laws in India, and you were not allowed as a single parent to adopt.
Ah, interesting.
So when she actually took this battle to the court and she won it. And then they introduced this provision in the law that as a single parent, you can adopt the child of the similar gender.
Hmm.
So, and then this host asked her this question that how do men react to ready-made family? Because so it was funny, but she was laughing and she said, "Well, you have to ask men." But then she said, jokes apart, when as an individual, your priorities are so set that
Yes.
you know what's of paramount importance to you, nobody outside of yourself should question it. They dare not. I was so hooked up with that one thought that she shared, and I'm like, this is the person I want to meet in life. I don't know how, when, where. I'm from a very small town, and she's a big star, but I will meet her. And 3 years later, she invited me for a meeting. And even if you see the book I have written, she even gave a testimonial for that. It's right on the front. So I met her in person, and that changed my idea of what's possible, but also looking at her as a role model, like being a woman and single and achieving things and just going after stuff. And I was like, this is amazing, right? And there were of course people criticizing and all those things. And then I was very curious, how do you remain on track, on path, and not worry about what others have to say? And I was so inspired by her.
Wow. That is amazing. And I mean, I'm sure the people that are listening to your story, they're inspired by you because, you know, you made something happen. You actually said, I want to meet her, and you were able to do that, and you even got her to write a testimonial in your book. Um, oh, so could you tell us a little bit? I mean, that's a big celebration. I'm sorry, that is like amazing. And gosh, that is, I mean, because you set your mind to it and you did it. And may I ask how you were able to meet up with her? And yeah,
So I used to visualize every night that when I would meet her, what would be like. And my vision was very particular, like what am I wearing, what probably she's
details.
wearing. I even
Yes,
decided that.
yes.
So it was really like every day. And of course, a bit of your brain goes like, yeah, but how, And then I was like, nope. I was reading a lot of secret stuff at that time, and all the authors from that law of attraction and things. So I really wanted to experiment, and I was like, well, okay, I'll just every day be grateful, and it has happened. It has happened, and how would it be? How would I feel? And I know when I was actually sitting in the room with her, and I was pinching myself because it was so vivid in my head, I couldn't really figure out it was real or I was still imagining.
I hear you. I hear you. No, it's so true. I mean, people are like, okay, this is really like people are going to be, okay, they're talking rainbows and unicorns, right? But no, no, no.
No, but
It's
there are
really
steps. There are steps to it, right?
yes,
Of course, I was writing book during that time. I was trying to find out how to contact and then share with her all my learnings. And then I found out that she ran a foundation. I was like, okay, I'm curious. Can I work like a social responsibility initiative with you? So, of course, there led to a lot of actions before the moment. There came a moment where
yes,
she actually even found out who I was, right? So
yes,
and
yes.
social media plays also a bigger role, and getting in touch with somebody over Twitter or Facebook, it builds up over time the network. And to my surprise, she had done enough research. When I went there, she knew who I was, exactly what I did, and how long I have been following her work. So
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's really energy and your intent. So, and it's not like you just imagined that and you just only visualized it. You took steps, physical steps to get to that place. And I think that's what people forget is that it's not just visualization and magnetism and attraction. It's you have to also take the steps to do that. So you can't just say, I want to be a millionaire
yeah,
and just say, I want to be a millionaire, right? You have to be taking the steps to work on how you want to become a millionaire. In what modality? How are you going to transform your life? And you were like saying, details. And
yeah,
it's very important to think about those details, like, what you're going to be wearing, where you're going to be meeting, um, what conversation you're going to have. Those things are going to be in your brain and you're going to be thinking about that. And you're actually taking little steps, mini steps to get to that place. So it could be like, okay, what can I do next to start that ball rolling, right? Towards where you need to go. Yes.
And this is so mystical because when I went to see her, at that time she mentioned to me about a friend who used to chant for her,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how I discovered the practice. And three
Ah.
years later, I contacted that friend of hers to share more with me about it, and that's
Uh-huh.
how I actually got introduced to the practice.
Interesting. Wow. Wow. This is amazing. So everything's connected, right? Interconnection. Yes. Wow. Um, that is like, that's really amazing how things change and how everything was meant to happen that way. And I think, in life, when we think of all the experiences that we have and all the incidents that have happened in our lives, they all, if you really look back on it in retrospect, every little step that happened or every little thing that happened contributed to what's happening. So it's like, gosh, I don't know how to explain this. It's almost not like a puzzle, but every little piece adds up to going to that. It's like a little rung on the ladder, little steps that get to where you're going.
Yeah,
And I think it's such a beautiful thing when that happens. And, to our point earlier, we were talking about how things can be simple. As human beings, we just complicate things a
true.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, wow. I didn't know that she was the one that kind of introduced you to the chanting. So that is interesting. Very interesting. Wow. Wow. Could you tell us a little bit about the book that you wrote and the title and where we could find it and everything?
You can find it easily on Amazon. So it's like a Kindle edition or PDFs, however you prefer to read it on your desk. And the book is about visualization experiments that, like, I was really very intrigued by the idea of the secret, the law of attraction, right? So
Yes.
I was experimenting all these things. And I also actually share a story in that book about my first encounter, how well, I started to have a first connect with this star,
Yes.
and then of course my friends who were around me, we were also like I was telling them to also how to use this technique, and so I have a compiled version of a few experiments that we did with visualization, and this is what the book is about.
Wow, wow. So, if somebody's interested in visualization and the power of magnetism and all of that, would it be like something that someone that doesn't know much about it can start with that book and they could introduce themselves to it? And is it easy for them to digest, or
Very
would you have?
easily, very easily. I wrote it when I was in my 20s, so I can tell you it's quite naive language, and but in a way that is very simplified, including the steps that per story, that what did this person exactly do, right? That's a whole epilogue of explanations, and it's very easy to read, very light, and a short book, so you could do it over a weekend or something. It's
Okay, okay. So beginners can read this book and get started on visualizing their future or whatever they want to do. Wow. So, may I ask you, moving to the Netherlands, was that part of your visualization or was this after? I'm just curious now.
that was, I think, a result of my chanting.
Okay. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, so well, it was actually mystical, to be honest. So my when my father was he fell sick, and we didn't get a lot of information up front. Like, it was very last minute that we found out that what was the issue and stuff like that. So I didn't know at that time that he was sick. We just thought, okay, maybe he's sad because my grandfather had passed away before that. So, and I told him, well, let's go to Europe, have a trip, because I knew once we went to Singapore together, he was really happy. So I was like, maybe this will change, his mind.
Yes.
And he was like, yeah, once I feel a little better, we will go. So that was always the thought, let's go to Europe, and in a month of this discussion, almost, he passed away.
Sorry.
And then when I started practicing a month later, and I was just coming back from work home, and on the way I got a call from my manager at that time at work, and he's like, well, we have an opportunity in Amsterdam and we need your skills. I work in IT security. So they're like, well, would you be interested in going and serving these clients for a while? And I was like, I have to check. It's a Friday night, 8:30. I mean, I'm not really thinking about it. So I
Good to
went
see it's a
home.
weekend.
Yeah, I went home, and then I shared with my mom, like, this is how I got the call, and what do you think? And she was like, maybe it's a gift from your dad. You wanted to take him to Europe, so I think you should go for whatever 6 months, 1 year they were proposing. And I was like, but I don't want to go, right? I was also feeling
Of
like I don't
course.
want to leave my mom and my home country and.
Right.
So but I at that time I made a decision. Okay, I will come and I'll see how it is, and maybe for a change, like, it will also help me mentally.
Yes.
And that's how I moved. But if I now look back, a lot of things I can see were laid down. So, like what Tony would say, life is always happening for you.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes. I believe that was truly the case for you coming get going to Amsterdam. Yes, um, everything was kind of like set in place, and
yeah,
it was meant to happen that way. Yes, and I love that how Tony always says that life is, you know, it's not happening to you. It's really you are happening for it, right? You are creating it, and I love that because we all have the power to take control of our lives. And when we're in a bad place, or when we're in that place where we can't see everything, we tend to forget that. We forget that we have power, that we ourselves have the power to change and to take control of our lives. And we just let the waves kind of like take us here and there and everywhere. And we forget that we have the ability to swim.
yeah.
Yeah, and I love how you did that, and that's such a testament to growth. And wow, I just had this image of just us as little fishes in the pond, and we can swim. We don't have to just stay there,
Yeah.
and we can all swim and go to where we want to go. And I think that's beautiful, and that chanting really helped you to get there. And I love your story because like you said, everything kind of connects, and you know that it was meant to happen in that way. So that's such a beautiful thing. Wow. So, what would be one thing that now probably are people that are viewing this are probably wondering, well, how can I get started in something like this? I want to change, or I'm starting to feel inspired because Nidhi did this, and you know, she's she's just one woman that achieved a lot of the things that I want to achieve, right? Where can somebody get started on something like this?
I would suggest whatever your heart resonates with. So it could only be just a prayer for a second, 2 minutes a day, or it could be sitting in silence or listening to your favorite music and jumping onto it on a rebounder or whatever you like. Just get started. It doesn't matter with what. And the thing that you reminded me of was consistency. So I'm going to take it with me as well. Just do it like a challenge for 21 days or 30 days, that I'm going to do it 2 minutes a day or 5 minutes a day, but I will sit down at this particular moment to just do this and not think about anything. So
Yes,
I think that's a good starting point. And
yes.
the other thing is, the easiest is to start with just looking at what was the best moment of the day, let's say,
Mm,
and be
the gr-
grateful for it.
yes, yes, yes. That that's like the gratitude journal that I like to talk about a lot is having, even if it's at the end of the day and it's right before you go to sleep, do a gratitude journal. What was one thing that was really good in your day?
Yeah.
And I love that because I think going to sleep feeling good about something is a better way to fall asleep than thinking of something horrible and falling asleep. Because, a lot of us have that, I know that in my younger years, especially when I was in high school and college, I would be thinking of so many things that I have to do. And then when you're young like that, thoughts are going in and out and you can't fall asleep because you're like, what am I going to do? How am I going to pass this test? Right. I mean, that, your world is like the exam or whatever. And or how are my classmates going to react to this or that? And your world is very small back then, but then so your mind is just racing on all these different platforms and thinking, how am I going to do this? What's going to happen here? I worry about this, I worry about that. And you're not focused on anything that's really pleasant. You're focused on the what ifs and the fears, and you know it's you're frightened, so you're thinking of all these things. And when you fall asleep like that, the sleep that you get is not as peaceful or even restful. So when you do like something like a gratitude thing, like right before you go to sleep, you sleep in that feeling of warmth and happiness. And I feel that, when you fall asleep like that, you get better sleep and you wake up so much better too.
I'm going to try that.
Oh, really? Okay.
Well,
No.
it's always like the last things is you brush your teeth and then you go. But
Oh,
I should skip the how you say to turn around the sequence.
yeah. I found for me, and this has worked for me for a while, is that, I do, of course, I brush my teeth and all that, but right before I go to sleep, I write in my journal, my gratitude journal. And of course, I have my incantations that I write it as well. But, and I also write my gratitude, what I appreciated about the day, who, who inspired me that day. It could be just one thing, like it could be one encounter that I had with um, a friend, right? And or it was so kind of somebody to open the door for me when I was struggling to carry boxes or bags, right? It was something like that. And when you think about that, or like, oh, today so and so and I had a fabulous conversation, you kind of, it brings all of that good energy back into you, and you fall asleep feeling like, that, with that joy in your brain. And I truly feel that falling asleep in a happy state is a good way to fall asleep, because you want rest and you want your brain, but you also want your body to be resting, right? And it just kind of calms everything down so that you can actually rest. And when you wake up feeling so much better too. That's what I found anyway. And I think I also find, like, when I do presentations or when I do talks, I like to, there's an app on that I downloaded called Parrot, which is like, and what I do is I record whatever I'm going to speak about
Okay.
into this app, right? And I put it in my ears. I play it while I go to sleep so that my subconscious mind is understanding what I'm going to talk about, so that when I actually talk about it, I don't have to, it's already in there. So I could just kind of like tap into that well there, instead of having to like struggle and say, I didn't memorize it. What am I going to do? And I really believe that the subconscious mind, when you're sleeping, really hears so many things. So when you give it positive things to think about, it really does affect your mood.
Yeah.
So And I think that's kind of like, when you're chanting, you go into a different, your brain goes into that fade out, right? And you, it's almost like you're unconsciously giving it that energy and the direction and the joy that it needs when you do that. And I think sleep is one of those things as well. And I like to do that, or that's just, I don't know, it's worked for me. So I'm like, I'm going to continue doing it. But I don't know. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that it would be helpful? I mean, chanting is kind of like that too, right? Because you go into the different part of your brain.
Yeah, actually, now like you were talking, and I was thinking about it because a few years ago I trained as a hypnotherapist,
Ah,
and there they talk about it. So basically, we are doing that in the morning and evening. There's a moment where we introduce a hypnotic state in ourselves, right? When we go to bed, so when you're falling asleep, so there's a
mm-hmm.
moment when your conscious gives control to subconscious, and
Yes,
then you fall asleep. So this particular window is very important, like you said, just before going to bed. And if you're listening to something, kind of subliminals or any other messages, so that starts to sweep in, and it becomes natural because then your conscious is not conflicting with it,
yes, yes,
right? And same way in the morning, when we get up, sometimes we're like so much in the deep dream, that state, and we wake up and you're like, where am I, what am I doing? That moment is the hypnotic state.
yes,
And I know at that time when we were training, they would tell us like, whatever suggestions you have, you do them early in the morning when you wake up, right? When you wake up and before you just fall asleep.
yes,
So this is like the most powerful time to have the less conflict from the conscious.
yes. I agree. Yeah, because our conscious mind tends to be kind of like that, tends to give us all these, yeah, the chatter and all the criticisms and all of that. So, yes, wow. Thank you for sharing all of that. And I think, so you said you're doing a mastermind soon in January. And where can our viewers find you if they want to get in touch with you besides your book and all that?
They can find me on Facebook, on LinkedIn, or Instagram. So, and that's the easiest, it's more
And do,
personal.
mhm. And may I ask you, do you also teach chanting, or do you take people in so that they can learn to chant with you? Or I'm just
Happy to
curious.
support, although this is like very organization voluntary work. So I'm happy to introduce. If you just go to Google and say Soka Gakkai, and you'll find a nearest community around you. And this is not something I can well, I can always, of course, let you know
Of
the
course.
basic, the
Hmm.
principles, and take you along in the journey. And then of course you can join the local community, let's say, and they will be rather easier to help you in person, right?
Yes,
And happy to share my experiences and talk about it. So if somebody's interested, and I think the mastermind as well, I plan to do some leadership courses, but using Buddhist principles.
that would be interesting. And do
Really,
you, mhm.
everyday philosophy, like every day, what can you do with the everyday life? And this is how, if you base yourself on some principles, that actually helps you go further faster.
Yes, yes. Thank you, thank you. I really love that. And so we can reach Needy at Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And you can also get her book on Amazon. And what was the title again? I'm sorry.
Journey of visualizations.
Journey of Visualizations. Yes. So thank you so much for being here today. And any words of wisdom you'd like to share with our viewers before we go?
Well, thank you very much for having me. I hope you found something of value, because you are very experienced, and I know you have been sharing all the nuggets. I know you from the other community. So
No, I just like to talk. That's all. And I love having conversations with fellow um, I guess it's fellow, people that are on this journey together with me. I feel like we all want, like you had said, we started off saying that we all want happiness.
Yeah.
And I like sharing, you know, sharing what I know and also introducing people that can give a different perspective on how to gain that happiness. And sometimes happiness is really about nourishing your brain, your belly, and nourishing the soul, right? And it's about the whole of you. So um, that's what I want to pursue. And that's why I love having guests like you here today. And that's what we love to do here. So thank you again for coming today. And just to thank you. And this show can be also heard on Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out spanglishworld.ca for all the news and programming. And when you get a chance, visit my YouTube channel and also Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Thank you.